Hey y'all, I'm Carolina Tony. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today we are at Wolf Creek Indian Village. This is a ancient Indian village that goes back almost 500 years. This was back before horses came to the United States. We are going to go take a look at a recreated village and learn a little bit about the Indians that lived here. But right after this station identification. This is a recreation of the actual Indian village. Now, this recreation is moved approximately 200 feet from where the original is, and we'll show you in a few minutes. But this is where original grave was in the proximity of the original village, and they knew that it was a human adult, but that's all they knew. Didn't know what sex it was or what tribe. It was pretty cool. Okay, you may can hear this sound from the interstate, which is just on the other side of those trees. Around 1970, the interstate wanted to come through, and either they had to build bridges or redirect the creek. And because of the construction of the interstate going on, they had to do an archaeological dig. The original Indian village was there, and now they have moved it to here, just so we can see what it would have been like back in the late 1400s, early 1500s. Now, the original creek is right along there where the water ripples, and it went in that direction, which would have been straight across the interstate. But the government, being as wise as they are, they redirected the creek, and all of this is New Creek, but right there is where the original village was, where a lot of it is underwater now.
An hour, we're good.
All right, well, this would have been a guard tower, or the direction, or the place that was at. The original guard tower would have been wrapped probably a little tighter with a platform up higher, as in my Town Creek Indian Mound video, where you could actually see the tower. Let's go inside.
This would be where everyone met. So by everyone, I mean everyone in the village. Our village was believed to have approximately 75 to 100 people. So in the wintertime, you would meet in here. It is usually standing room only. It would go from the oldest individual down to the youngest. Seniority, just more or less go over political issues, anything at the village, just any casual meeting would be in here. But
So this archaeological dig that happened back in the 70s took about 30 days. That's all the time that they spent on trying to find out the information about this village. And that's a lot of information in 30 days. Today would probably be years. Here's the grave of an adult male.
so, this is our most special lady. I say that because she was found with the most Marginella shells. She was found with 1,330 of those Marginella shells. I will find somewhere and show you.
Okay, so what you're telling me is the original grave, which is over there under the water.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
When they were doing the archaeological dig, they found something called Marginella shells.
Yes, Marginella shells. They're seashells.
Basically, they were seashells.
Mm-hmm.
And there were how many?
1,330 in this grave.
So there were not only this young adult female, there were over 1,000 seashells in the grave with her. Here's where the mystery is really hard to swallow, is we are about 4 or 5 hours from the ocean. So we can only imagine that these folks that were in this village, that they traveled. And we're talking back in the late 1400s, early 1500s, and they traveled that far, not on a train, not on a plane, but by walking. Okay. So that one grave had over 1,000 of those.
In her neck region, as they believe it would have been a mantle necklace.
Okay, so probably was a necklace. So it was probably something really special.
Yes, these were worth more or less. They don't, I mean, you can't use these for anything, but more or less just a symbol of wealth. Like we use diamonds, they'd use these.
Here's another interesting fact, that the rocks that are on the top of the graves, they're kind of small and round. That was actually the size of the hole that these people were put in. This one here, it says they were tightly flexed facing down with the head to the north. So these folks were buried basically in a fetal position. And at Town Creek Indian Mound, right outside of Mount Gilead, North Carolina, that's the same way. Little small holes in the ground, and they would bury them in a fetal position. Here's another thing that is kind of neat, is you see all these little houses? These folks are buried right outside the houses. So basically, they buried their dead in the backyard or front yard.
So, this hut is the only hut that looks like this at the moment. It is to simulate a living space. By that, I mean every hut would look like this. However, we have them all different things, whether it be food, hunting, pottery, etc., to show you more or less different things specialized. So, you would have 10 to 12 people living in this. Reason being, it's because I don't know the tribe, so I can't tell you exactly what they were, so we have different examples. I do have one later you can touch and feel, but those were also born at one point when we opened, so we don't like to touch them because they are someone else's property. But, yeah.
So this would have been a personal living quarters. And the clothing over there is just for example, because again, they really do not know what tribe these Native Americans were. And of course, this was way before America was even thought of.
We just don't know. But it had 78 individual little turkey bones, all carved in place with it, and that's great. There's a bone over there, I don't know why, not on purpose, but there it is. So do I know why? I do not, but it's interesting nonetheless.
So one grave has seashells. This one had turkey bones.
Yep. Like the bone over there, that's conveniently placed. I didn't put it there, but it's there. So, this man was found with 3 pieces of conch shell, you know, the one you listen to the ocean with, inside his skull. Wonderful. He was also found with a rock in between his head and his neck. His cause of death was determined to be decapitation. But everyone here died from natural causes, so don't know how that's natural. So, this man was found with 3 pieces of conch shell, you know, the one you listen to the ocean with, inside his skull. Wonderful. He was also found with a rock in between his head and his neck. His cause of death was determined to be decapitation. But everyone here died from natural causes, so don't know how that's natural. So, this man was found with 3 pieces of conch shell, you know, the one you listen to the ocean with, inside his skull. Wonderful. He was also found with a rock in between his head and his neck. His cause of death was determined to be decapitation. But everyone here died from natural causes, so don't know how that's natural.
They know that the roof on these houses were covered with American chestnut. And at the time, the American chestnut was several feet in diameter. And of course, those trees are long gone now, so they have these rubber mats to simulate that. But it's pretty interesting to know that the tree was that big. All right.
So, this is what we consider our pottery hut. It would look like the other house, but like I said earlier, everything's different to more or less show you just different examples. This is made from the clay in our creek naturally. We have every natural color of clay pretty much in Southwest Virginia except for black. That's more southern states. But it is very slick. So if you get this wet, It is very slick, very easy to drop. I'm not saying I've dropped it, but I might have. So, we have this color, more or less, because it looks similar to this one. So, this right here is more or less, these are pictures of pieces of pottery, I have to concentrate, that were found here. This looks like a pretty decent sized piece. However, if you look at the little scale on the bottom, this is only 2 inches, so it's not that big. But you would just get a paddle, and you would tap this on the outside, and it would give it that pattern. That way, if everybody's using the same clay, it's going to look the same, but it gives a little bit of a pattern and identification. Of course, it's not exciting, but there is another hole in the ground over there. There's usually spiders in there, so I don't open it, but if you'd like to, you can. It is a bell pit. By that, I mean it is a pit just lined in clay. Small at the top, it flares out at the bottom like a bell. You would use that for cooking. So you'd get coals from your fire, and you put them in the hole. Let's say you get a bird, because there's a bird nest in here, and you wrap it in clay. Once you do that, you put it in the hole. When you do that, it's just going to more or less heat that clay up and cook the clay. But the clay cooks the bird. So it's kind of like when you put aluminum foil over something in the oven, just tender meat.
Smoking meat.
Exactly.
That's how they cook barbecue.
Exactly.
So, they can't prove this, but I'm going to guess that they barbecued here.
At least that, or more like you may.
No, it's okay.
I will say this weed on the outside of this hut is actually mullins. It does have many medicinal purposes, but otherwise it is just a weed. It's very tall. So, this hut we use is more or less containing. So we have different furs in here. I'm gonna skip this one. But so this is a rabbit. It's very soft. This is
raccoon.
Yes. What's this one?
Muskrat maybe.
It's a beaver. But
A beaver.
it's because the water's so close.
Yeah, a deer.
It is a white-tailed deer.
A fox.
It's easy. And then that one.
A bear.
So that is just hide. So this would be a winter dress. Reason being, I'll show you. It is very heavy. You would wear this plus something like that over top. Yeah. But if you like to see how heavy that is, there are no refrigerators. So you would dry all your food after.
So a food hut.
For food storage. I've also got into.
Okay. So cattails.
Cattails are very versatile. By that I mean you can use pretty much every part of it. This part right here, if you peel it off when it's dry, this is literally what it is. It's fluff. And it's a coagulant, so more or less it will clot blood and it will stop it from bleeding. This part, when it's green, the stem, you can eat like celery when it's green. The roots, which are behind me up here, these roots you can actually eat like potatoes.
Right.
Not in that form because those are very old. But, so, this is a turtle shell. So, fun fact, turtle shells, as a 5'2.5" individual, it covers all my vital organs.
Right.
Because all you have is stone, and you have sticks, that's all you have. But the inside you can be used as a bowl, cradle for a very small child. You use this right here as a comb for your hair or needles, because they are very fine. But this is also a calendar. So, how many seasons do we have?
4.
We do have 4. Everybody always says 12. So we have 5 seasons. Indian summer is counted as a season, or summer solstice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 13 months instead of 12 because there's 13 new moons. So there are 13 of these. And there are 28 days because there's 28 days. And there's 28 on the outside. Does not work perfectly on every turtle because God makes all turtles different. But the numbers do get really close. And it's actually really fascinating how close they do get. What you would do is you would get a stump and you would burn it on top and scrape it out until it's charcoaled. Then you put coals from your fire, because those are very resourceful. You put those in the little stump. Once you do that, you put water in there and it'll boil water. So when we get hot, we sweat. That's just the way we're made. However, when wasps get hot, they just more or less swell up and they have no way to expel that heat. So they throw out their stinger. Once they do that, they automatically die because they don't have their stinger. So you scoop the stinger out. You're going to eat the nest, the wasp, the larva, everything.
18 wasps.
Yes.
That's the only thing they're good for.
From the wall about here. It's about this tall.
A club made from a burl.
And then just other, more or less, clubs just made from rocks.
And there's your snake.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. I'm like, I'm just getting...
It's okay. We use this to make friction fire, but also a drill.
So, you can see a little bit of smoke, but all this black on the bottom.
All right. I hope you have enjoyed our visit to the Indian village. Where are we at?
Wolf Creek.
And what town?
We are in Bastion, Virginia.
What?
Bastion.
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 With a V?
Yes, well, Bastion. B-A-S-T-I-A-N.
Okay.
Bastion.
All right, I hope you have enjoyed our visit here to the Wolf Creek Indian Village outside of Bastion, Virginia. A lot of interesting things here. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give me a big old thumbs up. Be sure to tell your family and friends and share on your social media. Until next time, y'all have a good day.